Where's the camera?
What camera are we looking at? We're still trying to figure it out. It's okay. It's not like it's the first time we're doing this or anything. Our second year at Bolts Breakdown. We'll figure this out eventually. Bryan Burns, beat writer for TampaBayLightning.com. Recher 95.3 WDAE. Before we get into tonight's game between the Lightning and these guys back here, the St. Louis Blues, we'll break down the game from the other night. Burnsy against the Vegas Golden Knights. And, you know, Vegas coming in on a 4-game losing streak. But we weren't really kind of too concerned with that because talking to John Cooper after morning skate the other day and just knowing who they were, we knew that they were going to come out and give a great effort, and that's exactly what they did against the Lightning on Tuesday night. The Bolts went up 2-0. Good to see Braden Point get on the scoreboard after missing just that one game. And then, you know, that, I don't want to say controversial, but the goal that went the Lightning's way with Matthew Joseph in front of the net where it looked like kind of got pushed into Marc-Andre Fleury, but a great effort there to be able to get the puck past him. But then off a little bit. And I don't really like how the Lightning looked in overtime there. It was pretty much dominated by the Vegas Golden Knights, It just didn't seem like they had their legs later on in the game. They took a couple of penalties that didn't benefit them. What was your overall takeaway from that game against Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, I think the end of the game, you know, last 3 minutes or so, and then the 3-on-3 overtime, or 4-on-3, what it was with Vegas. I don't know that you can really fault the Lightning there. Certainly fault the penalties. You definitely don't want to take an offensive zone penalty like we saw from Alex Killorn at the end of regulation. So as far as overtime, it's kind of hard to get your teeth into that thing when you're killing a penalty pretty much the whole time. So I thought that was tough. I thought unbelievable job that the penalty kill's been doing. We know all year how good the penalty kill has been, but I think of late, probably in the last month or so, it's really hit another level. And if you look at the standings right now, the penalty kill is number 2 in the league right now, just behind Arizona. So you like the job that they did there. But, yeah, how often do you see the Lightning go up 2 goals in a game and then give up that lead? That's pretty rare for this team. You wonder maybe they got up 2-0. Was it a case of them getting a little bit comfortable? Yeah. I don't know. I thought Vegas played pretty well pretty much the whole game. I don't know that they necessarily deserve to be 2-0 down. I thought when they got that goal, the Eakin goal, I thought that was a key goal to get them one going into the third period. I thought that was a big goal for them. I kind of felt like maybe the Lightning were going to give up that lead. I know it's easy to say that in hindsight, but I did feel like maybe things weren't really going the Lightning's way, and that lead could have been overtaken by Vegas. So good for the Lightning to kind of stick with it and get a point out of that game. Certainly you get to the shootout, the way the Lightning have been in shootouts this year, the way Andre Vasilevsky's been in shootouts for his career.
You thought it was easy money there,
you expect the Lightning to come out of that with 2 points, but Victor Hedman, he's a guy who's 3 for 3 in the shootout. Going into that one, misses on his first shot. Kucherov misses. Point, who was just money in the bank last year, hasn't really been able to recreate that same magic this year. He missed. So just unfortunate the Lightning weren't able to at least get one of those in and test Vegas just a little bit and make that shootout a little bit more interesting.
Again, Bryan Burns, beat writer for TampaBayLightning.com, Recher 95.3 WDAE. We want to hear from you. Very interactive here on Bolts Breakdown. Where are you watching us from today? A lot of out-of-towners today, Burnsy. Look at this. We got Lisa Kristofic from Maryland. Jumbo, thank you for the kind words. Dallas Brown from St. Pete. Edith from Cologne, Germany. We also got Dominic Hemmer. If your name was Hammer, then you would have been a man. But I like Hemmer. Dominic Hemmer. We like that name. From Austria. Steve Magner, ready to see those new alternate jerseys tonight. It's been too long. We were kind of talking about this before. And, of course, let us know where you're watching from, like Brittany, who's watching from Fort Carson, Colorado, and Nicholas, bonjour de français. I'll be in France, actually, next week at this time. So, really excited about that. We were talking about this before. There's new nameplates in the locker room. And if you didn't see it, check it up on my Twitter, @JRecher. We don't know for sure. I mean, they're being very tight-lipped about it. Even Burnsy, a guy that's around the team all the time. And this is not coach speak, or we're not hiding anything from you guys. We don't necessarily know if there's going to be alternate jerseys tonight, but they did wear black and gray during the practices, during morning skate today for their practice jerseys. And they got some new nameplates out there. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be wearing those alternate jerseys tonight, but wouldn't be surprised if it's one of the games on this upcoming homestand.
Yeah, are there alternate jerseys? I don't even know.
That's what I was going to say. We didn't even really know. I mean, we haven't heard much about them. So we don't know 100% for sure, but once we do, we'll do our best to pass that along to you guys. We also want to hear from you guys your reaction to the whole Ryan Callahan situation. Obviously, the news came out from Joe Smith a couple days ago from The Athletic with Ryan Callahan telling him that he's not going to be part of the regular rotation. It looks like he was one of the last players off the ice today with Danik Martel and also Eric Chernak. So those possibly, you don't want to read too much into it, but when we looked in the locker room, the last three guys, usually those are the guys that are sat that night.
Yeah.
But asking John Cooper about his opinion on Ryan Callahan, and he told me, and it's also up on my Twitter, he said he's not playing every night right now, but he will play again. What's your take on the whole situation, and if and when he'll get back into the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a chance to give guys like Ernie and Joseph, two younger guys who haven't played a lot of games in the NHL. I think it's a chance to get them more games, more experience. Yeah, they played well. Matthew Joseph had another goal. He's got 13 goals right now, which is a tie for second in the league for rookies. So they're certainly deserving of the playing time, but I think it's just a chance for them to get more experience, to get into the little bit more action, get them ready. You want to have as many games under your belt going into the playoffs as you can. And I fully expect to see Ryan Callahan. I think he's going to be a starting forward once the playoffs start. I don't know how things are going to shake down, but you think back to last year and just how valuable he was throughout the postseason, how valuable he was in that Eastern Conference final against Washington. You can make the argument that he might have been the Lightning's best player in that series. Just the energy he brought. He had some scoring punch as well. So, another thing that this maybe saves Callahan a little bit
from himself,
wear and tear. He's a guy that plays full out. He doesn't hold back at all. Sometimes to his own detriment. Maybe coming off an injury or he's nicked up. You just can't really tell him go half speed. Yeah. He's going to go 100%. So maybe this is a chance to let him rest up fully and you unleash him in the playoffs. Fully healthy, raring to go. Ryan Callahan. I think that's only a good thing for the Lightning.
Without a doubt, and he's the heart and soul player of this team. And the first guy that I saw when I got here this morning and looked out on the ice was Ryan Callahan. He was laughing and joking around. So he's not one of those guys that has been faced with this predicament of you can't be happy. You can't be happy about it. You want to play. You're a professional. This is a sport you've been playing your whole life. But you're not going to see him with a mopey attitude. You're not going to see him be selfish. He's a leader. He's one of those guys that leads by example on and off the ice, and that's what John Cooper was mentioning after morning skate today. So I don't think this is one of those situations where his attitude is going to bring down the team or it's going to affect the team. I think the way he handles this situation, Burnsy, is going to be a great example to other players when things don't go their way. This is the way to handle it. Ryan Callahan is such an important member to this team. Don't want to worry so much about next year, $5.8 million cap hit. You'll worry about that in the offseason when you got to focus on Braden Point and all the other things that you're going to do as far as the rosters go next year. But as far as this year, this is just the thing that's happening right now, and I'm with you, man. You got to make sure some of these younger guys are getting enough games under their belt, and then you go from there.
Yeah, and I expect Callahan will probably work just as hard now to try to get back in the lineup. I expect him. He's going to be he's fighting for his position again. So you expect Ryan Callahan to put forth full effort to try to get back in the lineup. Will probably work even harder just to try to do that.
Brian Burns, beat writer, TampaBayLightning.com. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at @BurnsNHL. Jay Recher, 95.3 WDAE. Follow me at Jay Recher. Let's look forward to tonight's game, Burnsy, against a team that is arguably the hottest team in the NHL right now, the St. Louis Blues. And some guys you've seen around the league, some veterans, some young players. One of the best players in the entire game, Vladimir Tarasenko. Just love watching this team play. What are your three keys to victory for the Bolts tonight?
A big one for me is you look at the way the Lightning have been playing recently, and it's really just Kucherov, Point, and Stamkos has really been dependent on those three guys. If they're not clicking or having an off night, the secondary scoring hasn't really been there for the Lightning of late. So for me, it's getting some other guys involved, getting that secondary scoring going again, getting like the Andre Palats, the Yanni Gourds, Tyler Johnsons, the JT Millers. I feel like the Lightning need to get that secondary scoring going again like they had earlier in the season when we were just talking about so much forward depth and everybody was pointing, and now it really seems to have focused on those three superstar-type players, and I really think they're going to need some more of the secondary scoring to carry them once they get into the playoffs. Number two isn't really a key for me. It's more just like I was looking at the special team stats, and It's kind of unreal what the Lightning are doing special teams wise this year. I was looking at the power play. Obviously, it's been number one in the league for a while now. It's 29.1%. That power play, if the season were to end today, that power play would rank 6th all time in NHL history.
Wow.
And you got to go back to I think the last time a team, looking at those top 6 teams, you're talking about like the 77, 78 Montreal Canadiens. You're talking about the Islanders from like 77, 78, and then the next 3 seasons they're up there. I think the Edmonton Oilers were the last team, and that was in like 82, 83. So you got to go all the way back to like 83 before you see a power play that's put up or has been as prolific as this Lightning power play has been, which I just thought that was a mind-boggling stat. And then on top of that, they've got a penalty kill that's second in the league right now.
Which was a big problem last year.
Huge problem last year. I think Arizona's at number 1 right now, like 85.3%. The Lightning are right behind, like 1% behind at 84.3%. So just the fact that the historic numbers they're putting up on the power play, the penalty kill, and how much that group has turned around this year. It's just pretty phenomenal stuff on special teams right now for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Number 3 for me, key tonight, no mental lapses. And we've seen, I think defensively, the Lightning are playing kind of how they want to play. I think the last 5 or 6 games or so, you're seeing that attention to detail defensively, the commitment to keeping pucks out of their own net, their commitment to their own zone. I think that's been there for this team. But it's just like 1 or 2 little, lapses in judgment, mental lapses. And it seems like the Lightning are getting punished for those. They only have like 2 or 3 mistakes a game, and each time it ends up in the back of their net. So I know it's hard to be perfect every game, but, we talked to Todd Recher yesterday, and he said, as a coaching staff, they strive for perfection. They want to see the guys, it's pretty hard it's almost unattainable to play that perfect game, but that's what you want to strive for. I want to see defensively, I want to see this team strive for perfection and just eliminate those mental lapses, and I don't think you're going to see too many pucks in the back of their net.
As always, we want to hear from you. Have any questions for Bryan and I, feel free to put them there at the screen. Also, let us know where you're watching Bolts Breakdown from, and share this on your Facebook. Put shared on there, and we will shout you out. Marcus Pedersen, what do you expect from the Bolts to be done from now to the playoffs differently from last couple of years in order to have playoff success? And Bryan, I don't know if it's anything that's so different than what they've done the last couple of years. I think the extended play of strong defensive work, like you were just alluding to. But I also think guys kind of coming into their own. Now you're getting a full year of Matthew Joseph and a full year of Anthony Cirelli, and you have that added element of a guy like Eric Chernak on the blue line. I think those are the elements right there where you can say, hey, this is where the team's different. Not so much of a different style of play and bringing in all these different kinds of guys. Big thank you to Dave Positano for sharing. But I think just the guys that they have now shows that they're a different, you have a forechecking forward. Like John Cooper said the other day that Anthony Cirelli is one of the best forecheckers that he's ever seen. Mm-hmm. And you think about it, John Cooper has coached in All-Star games and World Cups and with arguably the best team in the league the last couple of years. For him to say that, it's some pretty high praise for a guy like Anthony Cirelli. And we can all see that Eric Chernak brings that physical element on the blue line. And that's the reason why he's still in the lineup and did get sent down to Syracuse. So I think that is the difference from the last couple of years.
Yeah, you think back to Anthony Cirelli. I think he made his debut last year on March 1st, and I don't know that there was necessarily a thought that Anthony Cirelli was going to be with this team for the remainder of that season and start every game in the playoffs. But he had a great debut, goal and an assist, and it's really showed what he could do in this league right from the jump, and you couldn't take him out of the lineup at that point. Like you said, I think it's integrating some of those younger guys and seeing how's Anthony Cirelli another year under his belt, getting Chernak ready for a playoff run, continuing to get Adam Ernie, guys like that, Matthew Joseph, developing those guys, getting them ready for a playoff run. I think more than anything over these last few 30 or so games that are left in the season, it's just really focusing on those details of the game. We know the Lightning can score goals. We know they can keep it out of their own net. We know they have great goaltending, good defense, depth at forward. But it's really those details of the game, the small details, the things that you want to become almost automatic. I think that's kind of what the focus is over this last third of the season. It's just hammering down those details so that when you get to playoff time, you're not really thinking. It's more just reacting to whatever the play is on the ice in front of you.
Thomas Brennan wants to know, should Cooper win the Jack Adams?
I don't know if he should. He
Will
should
he?
definitely be up there.
I think he's going to be a finalist, but I don't think that he will, just because of the job that.
Yeah, it's the nature of the award.
Yeah, it's not some. It's very hard, and shout out to Marcus Persson from Sweden. it's very hard in sports to give it to the coach of the best team.
Yeah.
It's or the team with the most points or the most wins. Usually, it's the team that comes out of nowhere. It's kind of the most surprising. So, I mean, it's hard to not look at the job that Barry Trotz has done with the Islanders. You lose your best player in Tavares, and you're even better this year, and you go from the worst defensive team to the best defensive team in hockey. And then Bill Peters in Calgary, nobody thought that they would be in first place in the Pacific Division. I mean, I think a lot of people thought they'd be good. But, man, I think Cooper's probably number 3 on that list. But well-deserved, as always, for John Cooper. It's a lot harder to think I think, I forgot who it was. Somebody was mentioning it. Oh, we had Jackie Redmond on yesterday.
I was actually just about to mention that. I was listening to the show coming across the bridge yesterday from work here.
She was mentioning that. She was saying that everybody thinks, it's so easy to coach these good teams. She's like, actually, it's harder because you have to try to get all these pieces together. You have to make sure that all these top-notch and these high-skilled players are playing up to their potential. And I think John Cooper does such a good job of kind of, I don't want to say massaging the egos, but just making sure these guys are in a position where they're playing their best hockey. And coaches are different. Some guys are more X's and O's guys, and I think you get that from guys that are, more guys that have played in the league. That's not John Cooper's style. He didn't play in the league. He's more of in my mind, a master motivator. He knows how to communicate. His communication skills are key for his players, and that's why he relies on guys like Todd Richards and Jeff Halpern and Derek Lalonde to do more of the X's and O's. I think that's what makes John Cooper one of the best coaches in the league, and also we saw that here with the Rays, with Joe Madden. Joe Madden was never the biggest X's and O's guys, but he came in every single day, shook every player's hand in the clubhouse, and he made sure that they were in a good place mentally so they were able to perform physically that night. And I think John Cooper has some of those same skills.
Yeah, and going into the season, everybody thought the Lightning would be good. I don't know if they thought that they would be this good where they're, so far ahead of the rest of the league right now, at least points-wise. But, that in itself, you have these enormous expectations heaped upon you, and then you're able to fulfill those expectations and even go beyond, what those expectations might have been. So I think that's, another feather in his cap if you're looking at potential Jack Adams that, not only did they meet expectations, they exceeded them, and that's really hard when all the eyes are focused on you and everybody's thinking, you should have this great team, but now you have to go out and do it. It's a lot easier to say it and to see it on paper than to actually go out and do it.
Should is a tough word because when people start throwing that around, you should do this, you should do that. Nothing is a guarantee. Nothing is a given. You can't just say, hey, we're the Tampa Bay Lightning. Let's just throw our sticks out there. We're going to be better than everybody else because they have more talent. You know as well as I do, Burns, that you have to go out there and you got to play your butts off for 60, sometimes 65, sometimes even more to be able to come out with 2 points every single night. And that's one of the more impressive things about this Lightning team. Not just that they're one of the more talented teams, but they're also one of the most hardworking teams in the NHL. And that's why I think the fan base, everybody in Tampa Bay can kind of relate to this team as well and say, hey, man, they're out there busting their butts. They're not just out there thinking that they're way better. They don't take shifts off. And I think it's a very admirable quality about the Lightning. My one guy to watch the other team, and we were just watching him out here, Ryan O'Reilly. And this is a guy that is a grinder. And he is one of the best face-off guys that we've seen in the league, probably in the last 10 years. I mean, he's up there when you're thinking about the likes of guys like Giroux and Bergeron and Kopitar. Like, Ryan O'Reilly is always up there at the top. And we were just watching him do some work down low. He's shifty. He's got the long beard. He's not like going to blow you away with his speed, but he's a guy that is a grinder down low. Like I mentioned, he wins a ton of faceoffs, and this is a team that is firing on all cylinders right now, and you're playing with a guy like Tarasenko like he is. That's a tough two-headed monster. The Lightning have to keep an eye on them right off the bat. I wouldn't be surprised if Braden Point's line is attached to those guys at the hip. Wouldn't be surprised if those are the two lines that start tonight.
Yeah, I kind of wonder now, like, what is the Lightning's defensive shutdown line? Like, I don't think it's that Braden Point line anymore, just because there's so much that's asked of them offensively. I kind of think it's morphed into that third line now, where you see the Cirelli, the Miller, and the Killorn line. And I really like the way that those three have combined here of late. I really feel like you mentioned Cirelli with the forecheck and the way that those guys forecheck and really just kind of bring the heat every inch of the ice on every shift that they play. I just like how those guys are kind of in your face, and I think that's almost morphed into what Cooper considers the defensive shutdown line. But I think you too can also use the point line as well whenever you maybe want to give those guys a break or not give them every tough assignment.
Brian Burns, beat writer for TampaBayLightning.com. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at BBurnsNHL. You can follow the team at TB Lightning. Go to TampaBayLightning.com for all the best news and notes. What's the story for today?
Yeah, just looking at how things have kind of tightened up here, and kind of how I alluded to earlier. The defensively, the team is playing really well and is paying attention to their own net. But now it seems like the scoring has maybe dried up a little bit. Just how things tighten up this time of year, and teams try to work out the little details of their game to get ready for the playoffs.
Jay Recher, follow me on Twitter at Jay Recher. Follow the station at 95.3 WDAE. Go to 95.3WDAE.com for the best Bolts coverage. The game tonight, 7:30 puck drop. Pre-game starts at 6:30. Up the dial on our sister station, 970 WFLA. And, of course, you can always watch it on Fox Sports Sun. We're going to try to do Bolts Breakdown next Tuesday and Thursday. I'll be in Europe. We're going to see how it works out. It's tough. It's tough at times when he's in Dallas or we're out of town, but we're going to try to make it work so we can do Bolts Breakdown from you. So we appreciate everybody for tuning in. We appreciate everybody for always contributing on the show. If you ever have any questions or anything that you need, make sure you hit us up. We'll do our best to answer them. That's Bryan. I'm Jay. We'll see you next time right here on Bolts Breakdown.